So, one of your mottos with the film, or ramping up for the film, is art is socialism, but life is capitalism.
That's what I wrote on my wall, yeah.
Which seems very apropos in California this week.
I know. I was just thinking about how in California people might fight me on that. And they might say, no, life is socialism too.
Yeah, well, I think we proved life isn't fair for socialist Jews this week.
Could be, yeah.
Anyway, so I want to talk about your improv background.
What does the X on your shirt mean?
Oh, it's an X-Men shirt.
Oh, it's an X-Men.
Speaking of capitalism.
Speaking of capitalism, oh my gosh.
But your improv background, you were in the Georgetown Players.
Yeah, you did your research.
Now, prior to that, had you done any improv in high school?
No, I'd done sketch.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I started a sketch comedy group, and I wrote and performed sketches for 2 years. And there wasn't really a sketch comedy group. When I was in high school, it's funny because I wanted to do more. A lot of people ask me whether I wanted to be on SNL, and I always say no. But the truth is, I did, like in high school and college. I mean, when I was younger, I think I thought that, and then I got to a point where I was like, oh no, I'm better at this other thing. You know, you get to a point and you go, oh no, I'm a better solo performer, and I'm better at writing one-person shows and screenplays and making films. Like, I think we all kind of go through that process of like trying out different things.
Yeah. Were you terrified to hit the ground running with improv in college, or?
I wasn't. I for some reason, it just seemed fun. It seemed like a party game, like at the time. I think in retrospect, I would have been more fearful if I thought about it too much.
Don't
think twice.
Yeah, or twice, right. That's a Del Closeism, right? Don't think, or?
I think so. I mean, it's a good question for Liz, who's off screen, but Liz, do you think Del, because Liz was taught by Del, do you think he thought of the term "don't think" as a motto, or do you think it was just a folk art kind of passed down kind of turn of phrase?
I think probably more of a folk art. I don't remember specifically him saying that. I don't remember him not saying it.
Yeah.
I do remember, though, he definitely instilled the idea of trust go.
Trust go. Yeah. There's a million ways to say it, but don't think is sort of one of the ways to say it. I like that one. Trust go.
So the film starts out, your film, Don't Think Twice, improv. It starts out with a list of 3 essential rules.
Right, yeah.
And say yes. Or
say yes, it's all about
yes
the group and don't think, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the group and don't think, right. You went on for the Georgetown Players to Upright Citizens Brigade, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a lot of stuff at the theater,
right, yeah. So then you took time off from improv when you became a stand-up.
I did, yeah.
And then you decided to go back to it to get ready.
That's correct.
To write this film, then eventually to perform in the film, right?
Yeah, but it was the reverse of that order. I hadn't come up with the film when I went back to improv. I went back to improv. It was just kind of, this is a very improv-like journey in a way. I went back to improv because after I directed the movie Sleepwalk With Me, I was trying to understand how the hell I even finished it, because it's so crazy to direct a movie, because no one knows how to direct a movie, no matter what anybody tells you. Nobody knows how to direct a movie until you direct a movie. It's like when you gotta say that when you apply for a job waiting tables, you have to say you've waited tables before, even if you haven't.
Right.
No one wants a first-time waiter, no one wants a first-time movie director.
It's like the special skills on an actor's resume,
they're all fake. Yeah. And so when I thought about sort of how the hell did I even make it out alive, I realized that it was all improv. It was all yes and listening to other people, listening to my costume department, listening to my production designers, listening to the hair and makeup department, and then making decisions from my gut based on hearing that. And so I went back and I just started doing a regular show at UCB, and Tammy Sager and Chris Gethard became regulars on that show. And actually often we would play with folks, if SNL was off one week, we'd play with Adie Bryant or Vanessa Bayer, or you know, Connor Ratliff or Gary Richardson are in the movie, Shannon O'Neill, who's the artistic director of UCB in New York, and I just came up with this movie. I came up with this concept. I pulled aside Tammy and Chris at one point. I said, I'm thinking of making this movie, and I might just start having readings at my house of the script, and would you guys be game to sort of give notes and read these parts? And they were psyched for it.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the script development and the reading process, and also, once the script was more or less locked, given that it's a film about improv,
Yeah.
you know, how actual improv might have played a part in the filming of the movie. So can you talk a little bit about that progression, I guess? Were the read-throughs ever kind of riff-throughs, depending on who you had reading them, or?
They oddly never were, but they were very feedback friendly. I mean, I like to get really critical feedback on things I'm writing. I like to hear the worst secret thing that you're thinking about when I'm writing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in terms of the shooting of it, fortunately I hired these, you know, 5 great actors who are really funny people, and so I was, I wanted them to say either the lines on the page or whatever felt right to them. And if it felt right to me and felt right to them, then that's what's in the movie.
So how much of the improv in the film is actually pure improv? I know you'd film it the scripted way, because the improv scenes were scripted,
Yes.
right? But
Yep.
then you would also shoot extra improv footage.
Yeah.
So how did that actually play out in the editing room?
I would say there's like, it's mostly the scripted improv and then sprinkles of actual improv.
Yeah.
There's like one great line that Gillian improvised about the last drop of blood is the finest nectar or something like that.
Yeah.
It's such a weird line that she improvised, and it cracked us up in the edit, and so we just found a place for it.
So I'm kind of always fascinated by the community around improv. There's a Del Close marathon that
Sure.
happens every year,
Yeah.
and there's it seems like, you know, at a certain level anyway, everybody kind of knows each other, and like the stand-up world, which is a separate but maybe equal world.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that community and I guess how you feel as a part of it?
I sort of have one foot in and one foot out of it, in the sense that like I never went through the traditional like classes system, level 1 through 4. I kind of did that in college. Like I did a ton of training in college, and then after college I remember doing workshops with like I remember doing one with Kevin Dorff and one with Ian Roberts, and over the years, you know, Liz Allen, and I try to sort of absorb a lot, but I wouldn't say I'm fully immersed the way that Tammy and Chris, it's me, Tammy, those guys are really, really immersed, and I think Keegan was very immersed in the Detroit, Chicago scene, because he played at Second City in both of those. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, but it's a scene for sure, and a lot of people know each other. Also, a lot of people don't know each other because there's so many darn people. There's so many people.
That was something else I wanted to add.
I mean, just to put it in perspective for the viewers, the Del Close Marathon, it's 3 days long. I performed in it probably 6 or 7 times. It's an annual festival in June, and it's 3 days straight, 24 hours a day.
Right.
You heard it here. 24 hours a day of improv groups on, I think, at least 3 or 4 different stages simultaneously.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how many people that is?
Yeah. Well, it's
If
interesting.
I were a mathematician, I would know.
The film has this sort of wistful quality about this particular group. The theater in the film is threatened with closing, the improv theater.
Sure.
And there's a threat to the group itself, that will they be able to survive as an entity? And Keegan-Michael says in the press notes, we're watching a wonderful moment in time that's coming to an end. I think speaking of what's going on in the film, but improv itself would you say that it's thriving right now, or
Yeah,
are there similar?
yeah, it is
Yeah.
actually thriving.
Yeah,
It's probably bigger than it's ever been. I'm traveling around the country with Liz Allen, who coached us in the commune, and we're doing free improv workshops for improv theaters. And you know, when I graduated from college, there's probably 20 in the country, and when I sent out a Facebook message to see who wanted to get the free improv workshop, there were 120 theaters that submitted.
yeah,
And you know, we're gonna go to like 25 or 30. It's a lot. You know,
Yeah.
packing in a lot, but yeah, it's very much a thriving thing. But that being said, like I think that there's more room to grow in the sense that I think it's you know, Chris Gethard always points this out. It's a very young art form. It's about, you know, 40 years old. If you think about it,
yeah,
you know, art forms, how young that is, and
yeah.
there's always room to take chances and try things. And you know, we say in these workshops, you know, I did one in Phoenix yesterday and San Francisco today, and I always say, like, when we did LA the other day, and I always say something that there is written in this book called Something Wonderful Right Away, which is in the film.
Yeah.
Sam finds the book and reads a quote to Jack but there's this line where somebody says, I think it's Paul Sills, he says, on any given night, if you improvise a show, it has the potential to be the most timely, topical, well-written, well-acted play in the world.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty profound thought when you think about, like, that play could happen in Phoenix, that play could happen in San Francisco, it could happen in Chicago or Indiana. And it's
And
exciting.
it's in the now.
It's in the now, it'll never happen again. I think that's a really exciting thought. I think this culture gets really obsessed with that success is this in entertainment. And in fact, it could be anything here, in the spectrum here. You know what I mean? I feel like so much of success in American culture is like based on our sense of like almost like what's most seen, or you know, not what has the most impact, or what moves people the most.
Right. On that note, one of the many things I think that the film captures very well is the ambivalence within the comedy community about Saturday Night Live, which is this
Or Weekend Live, the movie.
Right. You know, to a comedy purist, the question is it good? Was it ever good? They had that discussion in the movie.
Characters talk about it, but meanwhile, of course, they all would want to be on it in a second.
Yeah. Well, is it more about that the opportunity that it presents than the thing itself, do you think?
I think it's really hard to say. I mean, I think anyone who is a comedy nerd has obsessed over SNL and thought about it a lot. You know, I feel like I love the show. I think of it as like the sports of comedy. It's, you know, people are watching the Warriors and the Cavs, and I watch Saturday Night Live. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious.
You could be the Howard Cosell of comedy.
Yeah, that would be great. One of my dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel like it's almost like how you feel about SNL is really how you feel about yourself. Like it sucks. It's like, no, you suck. like those guys like make a new show every week. I mean, it's a feat of absolute, you know, gargantuan proportions that they create. They write and rehearse and put on a live show, which is very high stakes to be a live show. I mean, none of the talk shows that we're watching every night are live.
Right.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Like almost nothing you watch on TV, almost nothing is live. So, I mean, the cast right now I think is as good a cast as they've ever had, if not the best. I mean, I think A.D. Bryant and Kate McKinnon and Vanessa Bayer are three of the funniest people on the face of the earth.
Well, I'm running out of time here, but as a film nerd, I watch the film always to the end of the credits.
Sure.
And I always read the thank yous. And I noticed Frank Oz is thanked.
Yes.
Can you explain why Frank Oz is
Frank Oz came to one of the readings, gave notes, came to one of the screenings, gave notes. He's a very generous man. He's brilliant. He's Frank Oz.
You also blessed your animal impression, right?
Yes, in my one-man show, Thank God for Jokes, he was in the front row one night, and I do Animal, which is him, or the original was him, and Fozzie, which was him, the original was him, and it was very disconcerting performing Frank Oz voice for Frank Oz, and I asked him backstage, I said, do you have any tips on doing Animal, because I'm doing this show for 4 months, I'd like to get better at it, and he goes, the only thing you need to know about Animal is that he loves drums, sex, pain, and food, and he eats glass. And that's why I now do a pitch perfect Animal.
Thank you for that.
Terrible.
Words to live by.
What's our station ID that I could do as Animal?
Oh, well, this is the Groucho Reviews YouTube channel.
Okay. Groucho Reviews.
Thank you very much.
I mean,
Yeah.
if that wasn't worth the price of admission, I don't know what is. Free.
Free endorsement.
Free, no less.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Best of
you.
luck with the film.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.